Save and Abute CTM. What's going on? I hope you're well and doing great on this Friday fun session as we take a look at what's going on here across markets. Bitcoin trading at $101,000. BlackRock recommending a 2% Bitcoin allocation. Japan now, lawmaker Satoshi, how about that? Proposing a Bitcoin strategic reserve for Japan. Adoption seems to be accelerating. Nation state FOMO seems to be out on the horizon. I'm looking at this chart of Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is beautiful. And I'm wondering if whether or not we're going to see something. OG, we got the mic now, right? We're all good in the hood here. We got anyone, please let me know. If not, I'm going to keep going with the session here and just get into the session. By the way, this is Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing. You're here right now on this Friday with CTM Live. We got over here a nice angle of Bitcoin continuing to go up. The thoughts are now that maybe Bitcoin is in an area where we're going to see a new angle of ascent take place. That would be nice. I mean, it would be nice to see Bitcoin printing higher, $120,000, $130,000. I don't know if that higher ascent is yet ready to enter into the market. You've seen it before in the past. You could see that, like, here was that angle that we're currently coming off the bottom right now. Yep, this is like global lockdowns anomaly. And then we hit that higher ascent, which has a lot of people looking right now for that top. You come back into this area over here, and you're looking at the 2016 run. And again, you have that same angle that we're currently in, and then Bitcoin hit off into that higher ascent. We'll see. The longer that this angle of ascension continues to hold out, likely the longer the rise. Of course, it's not without risks or without potential dangers along the way. And a simple trend line that I'm showing right now, that needs to hold for this run to continue. And then as we hit that sharper acceleration, that angle will change. Do you think, I have this line over here. This is where during the this is January, right? I was thinking over here of the March 2023 banking crisis. And then this was over here where the court ruling worked out favorably for Grayscale to convert over into a spot ETF. Since that has taken place, intern leak, spot ETF coming, we've had two tests of this line over here, including over here in the end of July, early August, during the Japanese yen unwind. It looks to me that could be a decent projection of a floor in Bitcoin. Not that the floor could not be taken out. The floor could be taken out. If the floor were taken out, then likely something different is transpiring. Right now, that comes in right roughly around 58,000 Bitcoin. I think in this perspective now, with Bitcoin trading above $101,000, Bitcoin 55,000 is cheap, really hits home. I don't know whether or not we'll have the opportunity to see anything like that cheap Bitcoin again in the future. We seeing today some really, really wonderful news coming across the wires. BlackRock is suggesting a 2% Bitcoin allocation for portfolios. This is absolutely gigantic. We're looking at Bitcoin over here at $1.4 trillion market over here. Gold, $16 trillion market cap. That is where Bitcoin, that's what Bitcoin has its eye on next, as looking to overtake the market cap of gold. How long that will take, that remains to be seen, because don't forget right now, this is a time for gold to continue to shine. In my opinion, gold has entered a secular bull market, and the market cap of gold should be growing alongside of Bitcoin for the foreseeable future. It's just that the market cap of gold is much larger than the market cap of Bitcoin. The adoption rate of Bitcoin seems to be much, much faster than the adoption rate of gold at this point. I'm not hearing. I mean, we've been seeing actually nation states stack gold for a long time. Russia, ever since it divested of U.S. treasuries, has been stacking gold. China, for the last 15 years or so, has been stacking gold. Gold here is maturing at a nice, healthy market cap. It remains to be seen whether or not that nation state FOMO continues and Bitcoin gets on the bid. And there are certainly signs of that. BlackRock is saying a 2% allocation to Bitcoin is going to go ahead and be a really good fit to the 60-40 portfolio. If people, when BlackRock speaks, people pay attention. People in traditional markets pay attention. People of all, let's say, I was going to say demographics, but of generations pay attention. Japan is considering a national Bitcoin reserve. Japanese lawmaker Satoshi. Yeah, I mean, do we actually live in a simulation? Is it possible that we really do? And we've seen obviously the U.S. Propose a strategic Bitcoin reserve. We saw this past week Eric Trump say that his father has committed to that and that he looks to see, or he's looking for the price of Bitcoin to reach $1 million. And now you have, obviously, since then, Russia saying that they are proposing a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Brazil, now Japan. And this is on the back, of course, of El Salvador, Argentina, and others. Argentina proposing it as well. And then Texas is proposing a Bitcoin reserve as well. And you got to, I'm not sure Texas alone, Houston alone, Dallas alone, what size economy they have in relation to other nations, but rather large, I imagine. If we begin to see different Tennessee, Texas, different state, Florida, we're talking city levels, state level, nation level, the race is beginning to stack. And then we see retail continuing to be on the bid. Retail is irrelevant this cycle. If you didn't believe me when we first started talking about that, I think that you're beginning to see why. Riot Platform acquires over 5,000 Bitcoin for $510 million. Now, $510 million, I mean, it's a nice size bid, but it's what we have, like, that's retail right now. We're talking about big numbers and big players coming in, and it's beautiful to see the continued bid. It's beautiful to see across financial newspapers this weekend. I wonder if the Financial Times, I wonder if Barron's, Investor Business Daily are going to be talking about BlackRock suggesting a 2-point Bitcoin allocation. I wonder if large investment portfolios are going to take heed to that and begin stacking. It is a matter of time. We are seeing that adoption accelerate with much big players now involved. Yesterday, another $597 million added to the inflows of Bitcoin ETFs. It's kind of neat when you see someone like Riot adding 500 million, another 500 million into the ETFs, and all of a sudden you're seeing 35 billion into the Bitcoin ETF, and you're considering to see a lot of bigger money at the bid. There was something that I saw. I don't know if this is true or not. I don't know if it's true. The headline over here says Microsoft eyes Ethereum ETF. I mean, Microsoft passed on Bitcoin. They didn't want to take a Bitcoin position. That's okay. There'll be plenty of time. They'll get the price that they deserve. Do we need to see tech companies at this point begin to adopt Bitcoin in order for Bitcoin to be able to do Bitcoin things this cycle? I mean, it seems that, strangely enough, usually tech companies are very early. There's no question Elon and his position, his Bitcoin position on Tesla was very early, right? He bought Bitcoin at 55,000. $55,000 Bitcoin is cheap. Tesla now holding over $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. And that number is obviously growing as well. But a lot of these other companies, these other becoming dinosaurs, right? I remember when Google launched, and then all of a sudden now they're Alphabet. And that's why I think Zuckerberg is going to be among one of the first tech companies to take a big position, regardless if they do or not. When we're talking about countries, Russia, Japan, the United States, looking at taking Brazil, looking at taking positions, I think that the tech companies later on are going to be the ones getting it at the price they deserve. This is the early majority. You're an early adopter. Now we're up to the early majority. It's still early. It's during this progression, that this phase of the early majority, that we then move towards the late majority. And the late majority, regardless of what the price of Bitcoin is, they're going to be taking a position because they're forced to. We're seeing December beginning to show some signs here of green, looking for the fourth month in a row of fourth month in a row of consecutive gains on Bitcoin. Each and every other time, September, October, and November have been green. So has December. We'll see what happens over here. Bitcoin bull runs, looking beautiful, still holding open position. I hope that this position stays running for the duration of the bull market and doesn't look to exit anytime soon. We are seeing still 107 out on the sidelines. BTC 108 still holding its open position. We did a really strong video earlier in this week comparing the different templates on Bitcoin and their returns. Buy side only on the 8-hour has the best buy side return on Bitcoin, and it is also out of the market currently, waiting on the sidelines. BTC 108 has some of the highest overall returns. All of them exceptional returns. Ethereum also sending another $100 million into their ETF yesterday, and we are on the sidelines after getting stopped out on ETH 103A, and CTM 2.0 continues to hold its open position. Cardano going under the unrealized 200% down to 199% unrealized gains, still holding. And Solana here is out on the sideline. Yesterday's session, Andrew, was pretty awesome. If you didn't see yesterday's session, do go ahead and watch it. We talked about diminishing returns and what that looks like in an S-curve in relation to things like the power law, why there's a good, strong probability that diminishing returns will be disproven this cycle. We looked specifically what that looked like from a cycle top to top basis, from a cycle bottom to top basis. And if we are indeed to see anything like actual nation state adoption, then I don't think that there's a chance. But more importantly, we are seeing this next phase of adoption taking place. And during this next phase of adoption, volatility does diminish. That volatility diminishes to the downside. You saw it during the last bear market. And it also diminishes to the upside. However, that upside continuation is actually exponential growth. It's not hype phase behavior where you see these large, strong upswings on the price of Bitcoin like you did over here in early 2013, 2014, 2017, sharp rise. This was very subdued, but we saw a different behavior occur. What we saw happen was the price of Bitcoin make the all-time high before the halving, not after the halving, as it has in each and every other previous cycle. And this cycle that we're currently into and headed towards right now, my estimation is that the price of Bitcoin is making a new all-time high a lot closer to this halving than it is to this halving. And the drawdowns on the way down are going to be significantly diminished. We've already seen that if you look at from the bottom here to where we are right now, the extent of the drawdown. We've had 3 20% drawdowns and 1 40% drawdown. They are also diminished compared to past cycles. I imagine that continues. And I think that trying to guess the cycle top, I don't think that there's any need for that. When we talk about guessing, we're talking about cycle top, like the goal here is diminishing returns are disproven. And then we have very good guide about where our potential, where we could be at a potential time. And again, our lower end estimate matches up perfectly with the lower end of what the power law is. Only the power law's upper end is likely not correct in so much as that they're not factoring in price behavior during S-curve adoption. If you look at what's going on with traditional markets here, we are seeing after that breakout yesterday, we have the arrow pointing to the breakout of bond yields selling off. And you could see that acceleration. The previous two times, as the Fed cut and you saw yields sell off significantly, again, what happened was one time and around this area, this time they extended out the furthest. You saw a small pullback and then taking out that swing high to a greater degree. The other time you saw a deeper pullback and then it taking out that high, but then peaking shortly thereafter. So this one has extended the furthest. The pullback is shallow. It looks like we're getting ready to take out 4.5% yield. What's that going to do, or how are equity markets going to react? That remains to be seen. Obviously, even as yields were in the end of November, elevated equity markets were really shaking that off, including with the strong dollar. So that remains to be seen, but let's take a look at what's going on right now. And we've been checking out this schematic, and this is a potential. We're just watching out for it. I gave very clearly guidelines in the last stock market update. If you go to the YouTube channel homepage and you look at the stock market playlist, you can see that video and my expectations. However, we are coming right here today and we peaked, right? We peaked just below 22,000 and into the upper wedge resistance, something that we were watching out for. Nothing wrong with this so far, thus far. In order for us to have any type of technical breakdown, we need to take out the lower support of that wedge resistance, and then we will, trying to be as early as possible, be on the right side. And only thing that would change that view would be if a repair was made to invalidate it. Because you could see on a Wyckoff distribution, if this is in fact a distribution, that the confirmation is all the way down over here below 18,000. This is why we want to be as early and accurate as possible. A breakout above, a close above the upper resistance, that would likely send forth an acceleration to the upside. And a lot of people think that the stock market has come too far, really too far. A lot of people have also been very by the way, this current yellow window we're in is a little dicey on flows leading up to when the Santa Claus rally is supposed to begin. Actually, today is the 13th. Looks like next week would be the low. Let's check out if we get the low, but the acceleration beginning around the 19th of December and into the end of the year. I mean, since 1928, this is the average. We'll see if that continues. It's the markets. Anything could happen at any time. If you look at 2024, we're over here, and this has been one of the best S&P 500 performance to date, coming off of 2023, which was also above 20% on the S&P 500. And throughout this time, a lot of people have continued to remain bearish. This is finance, economics, science, and tech. I choose this channel because he has a lot of guests. Like, he doesn't present himself, David. He's just got a litany of different analysts out there in the market. And it seems that almost each and every time, and since I can remember, many of them are extremely doomer gloomer, right? Markets reset, severe deflation in 2025, catastrophic problem in housing that people say is continuing and continuing. Gareth Salloway, unbelievably nasty downturn. I mean, from afar, these people have all been bearish for 2 years in a row of 20% gains each year. It's is it concerning, or is it to say that eventually they're going to be right when there is a market crash? It's like someone during the dot-com boom missing the whole boom, being on the sidelines or shorting the market, calling for the bust. They've basically missed the ride or insolvent by the time the bust comes. That's not really what we're looking for at all. This will end badly, right? All of these are so bearish. And you would think during this particular time, well, I'm just going to go back a few months. Surely we have really bullish posts over here, right? Edge of economic cliff, economic storm signals, imminent economic meltdown. This stuff is just extreme overbought. 3 months ago, here we are, much higher. And this is the concern. All this stuff is very attractive for people, I suppose, but you want to be on the right side and be able to make the gains that count. If you're looking at what bears should fear, and again, we're watching like, we're extremely bullish. This is where we have to flip our bias, a breakdown below here. If you look at, though, the fear and greed index, right now it's neutral. This is over the last 3 weeks. It feels like from a lot of the rhetoric that you hear that we must be at extreme greed right now, because that's how people are signaling. If you look at market exuberance, we're at a very neutral level. We're at a very neutral level right now. And a lot of people seem to be, I'm just going to say, on the wrong side. This is something we've been watching as a warning. And you can see that once again, we are testing on NVIDIA the support, that green line at around 131, 132. Interestingly enough, NVIDIA is our template that remains, yes, at all-time highs on a P&L basis, but out on the sidelines. We're seeing TQQQ holding an 8% position, FNGU holding unrealized gains of 45%, and Tesla holding 48%. It's a very long time, and a lot of money is to be made during this time to be out on the sidelines or bearish or shorting or any which way. And I don't know how long this continues. I surely did not know or expect. My expectations when FNGU entered this trade was not that it was going to have, its largest realized profit is 131%. But I didn't know that the average trade, though, the average trade is 25%. So this is a greater than average trade. I had zero idea or expectations that's what's going to happen. That's what it's about. It's about grinding it out until you get into those positions that continue to hold and run and build into profit. Same thing with Tesla, although Tesla, we did have an idea. Tesla, we were looking at if Trump won the election and watching ever since the end of 2021, that downward sloping tight consolidation Tesla has been in. This is, even though this was a hard trade to get in front of. What do I mean by that? Well, you see Tesla has a 34% win rate. Coming into this trade, after that breakout, you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stop losses in a row before getting the trade that we're currently holding. Dollar continuing to rise over here. I adjusted this. This was a sell impulse like here. It triggered over here. Came into structural support. We bounced. We were riding that broken support until we closed above it. Now that we closed above it, I'm going ahead and I'm just going to go like that. And that would be the next opportunity of a sell impulse to occur out on the dollar. And from this view over here, the DXY as well, it made a beautiful so far breakout, retest, and seeing if it could resume up right now as we speak. This is so important. I think it was I think it was Keynes who said it originally, but I know it from when Alan Greenspan was Fed chair and he talked about this, and it's so true. So if you're like someone who likes to buy oversold and sell overbought, oscillators could work until the time that overbought or oversold remains so for a long time, and that's the time to make money. That doesn't happen often. That's the time to make money. It's what we do. We buy when momentum is hot, and we sell when momentum is hot to the downside. Bitcoin here, rising $101,000. I think the high is 104,000. A lot to be positive about right now. Yeah, that's true too. I mean, always concerned. We put out the meme in 2020. The markets are not crashing, and as far as I know, we were one of the very, very few. The only other person I know that caught the downside in February into March was ahead and the whole way was Eric Townsend of Macro Voices, and to this day, one of the few podcasts that I continue to listen to. We crushed it on the downside and were able to get it out the upside. Don't forget, from the bottom in March through the summer, macro doomsers were talking about insolvency event and how we were going to test the lows and yada, yada, yada. The markets are not crashing is a meme to help you overcome the human instinct of flight. And you have to be able to make sure that you're able to. Now, we have done from an astonishingly wonderful way a mechanical system to keep us on the right side of these markets. By the way, there you go. That better said than I could have said. So, really beautiful day. When I talk about the beautiful day, I'm talking about the news of this highly favorable Bitcoin related news coming into the markets, where the state of Texas is talking about a reserve riot on the bid, flows into the ETFs. Is this a time to be bullish as an extremely favorable administration, SEC, all across the board is trying not only to signal to the world that they are open to do business and favorable towards Bitcoin and crypto, but they themselves are talking about actually taking a position. Everyone, have a beautiful, beautiful weekend. For all of the love shared this week on the way out, please go ahead and hit the thumbs up button. Everyone on the replay crew, big shout out. God bless you, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll continue at it together. God bless you all.